Hello everyone and welcome back to Nathrandir's Guides to Everything. Today I've got a doozy of a video for you. Have you ever wanted to roleplay as Aladdin in D&D? Well, now you can with the Oath of Noble Genie's Paladin. I say Aladdin just because it's the first thing that it reminded me of, to be frank. But nevertheless, you can brandish the elemental splendor of genies with this new subclass that they've just released into testing in Unearthed Arcana. I am excited to see which book this might come in fact. Despite the varying quality of Wizards releases in the past few years, I do still look forward to every book release just for all the new mechanics that they introduce, the new subclasses that we get to play and all that good stuff. Let's jump straight into it. Let's talk about why the Oath of the Noble Genie's Paladin is my favorite from what I've seen in the new Unearthed Arcana. So it's an elemental themed paladin with all of the usual paladin bits that you would expect, which draws on the smite features and the channel divinity features to empower them. You get a little bit of utility to buff your allies as well, along with all the usual paladin features that you get. We're going to talk a little bit about what makes this class so much fun and ways you can complement it by tailoring your normal levels as a paladin. So, paladins sworn to the Oath of the Noble Genies revere the forces of the elemental planes. So essentially you become an elemental wielder, I guess. Very similar, seems to me, very similar to the Warlock Pact of the Genie. With this one, there seems to be more of a focus of coming from wielding all the elements, what all the different genies provide. So that would be the Dao, the Ifrit, the Marid, and of course the Jinn, the Genie, however you want to say it. There is some strong lore tied in with this subclass that gives us a hint in what kind of book they were going to release. It is set in the Forgotten Realms. Many paladins who swear this oath hail from Kalimshan, a land rife with genie kind, but obviously if you're doing a homebrew or your own game, you could just throw this in wherever and just come to a reason why this is the case. It can go one of two ways, I guess. You can either go with the Warlock Pact. In fact, I've just come to mind, I wonder if there's any good subclass opportunities, multi-class opportunities even. The tenets that you follow as a paladin with the Oath of the Noble Genie are: beget creation with destruction, lead with splendor and grace, respect the elements and fear their wrath. Some fun little tenets there. I always feel like it does actually give you a little bit of a play style and how you can play. It's very easy to roleplay as a paladin, I feel like. Probably the easiest class to roleplay as. Right, let's talk more mechanics. At level 3, you get Elemental Smite. Immediately after you cast Divine Smite, which is now a bonus action in the newest rules, you can expend one use of your Channel Divinity and invoke one of the following effects. You guessed it, as with most of these mechanics, there's going to be one for each type of genie. So the Dao's Crush. Essentially, after you Divine Smite, that target becomes grappled with an escape DC equal to your spell save modifier, but they don't save to go into it, they just are grappled. Next turn they can try and escape. Really, really handy. While grappled, the target has the restrained condition. Really good for locking creatures down. You can also use the Jinn's Escape, which is when you cast a Divine Smite. As with all of these, you teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet of yourself and take on a mist-like form. Now this is a huge amount of mobility, especially for a paladin. You could smite something and then move on to the next target. Additionally, while you're misted, I guess that would be the word, while in this form, you have immunity to grappled, prone, and the restrained condition, so you cannot be locked down. You become like the wind. This is very Avatar-esque, of course, too. Maybe a good way to do an Ang build or something like that. The Ifriti's Fury, which of course is the Fire Jinn. The target takes an extra 2d4 fire damage. So if you do land that crit and you do Divine Smite, you can pump or Channel Divinity into it as well, do an extra 2d4. I guess it would be 4d4. By the time you're done with your crit. And finally, we have the Marid Surge, which is also a fun one. It gets things away from you. The target and each creature of your choice in a 10-foot emanation originating from you, so many words, makes a strength save against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature is pushed 15 feet straight away from you and has the prone condition. This is, I'm surrounded, I need to get out. Bush, you do this. And I guess a tidal wave emits from you. Also at level 3 you gain a few bonus spells. As with most of the Paladin subclasses, you get a few select ones that become always prepared. So at level 3 you have Chromatic Orb, Elementalism, and Thunderous Smite. All of these make sense, obviously very elemental themed. Chromatic Orb, by the way, one of the now, I think, best group damaging spells in the game, as it chains to other people that are nearby if you roll doubles on the damage dice. So if you cast it at quite a high level, in fact, only 5th level paladins can go up to. Anyway, if you cast it at a really high level, I think it's 7th, you will always roll a double, so you'll do a bunch of damage because you can keep re-rolling the dice. So maybe this isn't quite possible with a paladin because you can only go cast up to level 5, but you could still give yourself a very good chance of doing so. Clear some groups of mobs out. Elementalism obviously makes sense. You get the Beckon Air, Beckon Earth, Beckon Fire, Beckon Water feature. Gives you a cantrip you can use regularly to evoke your elementalism. Thunderous Smite makes sense. I won't go into that one too much more. At 5th level, you get Mirror Image and Phantasmal Force, so a little more utility focused on those ones. At level 9, you get Fly and Gaseous Form. These make sense. Gaseous Form, very air elemental Djinn, along with Fly as well, although most Djinn can fly, I think, anyway. At 13th level, you can harness the power of these elemental creatures by using Conjure Mana Elementals and Summon Elemental. At 17th level, you gain access to Banishing Smite and Contact Other Planes. You can tap into those genies that you draw power from. Now, also at level 3, here's one of the most unique things, what really flavors this. Most of the time, paladins are depicted as heavily armored tank frontliners, basically. But listen to this, level 3 Genie Splendor. When you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor, you get a bonus to your AC equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of +1. You also gain proficiency in one of the following skills: Acrobatics, Intimidation, Performance, or Persuasion. So obviously all paladins are charisma based. This just lets you get a really good buff, and it lets you focus on wearing either light armor or none and still maintaining a very high AC. So all the usual drawbacks of heavy armor and having to load up, you can be a different type of paladin, more mobile one on the battlefield perhaps. This is why I just thought of Aladdin for some reason with like a scimitar type scenario, but I guess you could go dex-based paladin. That would also make sense. I think the fact that they hint at taking acrobatics as part of a proficiency you get with this just leans into that a little bit more. They want you to play a paladin a little off kilter here to what the usual setup is. At level 7, you get a huge buff to your aura. So it's the aura of elemental shielding. So essentially you choose a damage type. You and your allies have resistance to that damage while in your aura of protection, which I think at this level is only 10 feet. But even so, anyone close by just immediately gets resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. That is huge. You'll pay thousands of gold for an item that does something similar in the game. And not only that, you can change the type of it at the start of each of your turns, so you can really react to what's going on around you. Though usually I can't imagine you versing too many elements in a single fight, but even still, really, really good utility, and does enable everybody to tank large elemental hits from things like dragons, which have been updated and are now much deadlier. You can check out my video if you want to see about that. Another fantastic ability that you get at level 15, so there's a decent gap where you get nothing from the actual subclass here, same with most of them though. When you are hit by an attack roll, you can use an elemental rebuke. You can use your reaction to halve the damage attacks against yourself and force the attacker to make a dex save against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the attacker takes damage equal to 4d10 plus your charisma modifier. This is just a hellish rebuke on steroids, basically. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. So you already deal a lot of damage. You're already going to be being a nuisance, and none of the enemies are going to want to hit you because they're going to take a bunch of damage back to them, and you choose the damage that they take. So acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder once again. So yeah, I mean, you can just react to anything you're fighting and really hit them hard if they happen to resistance to fire, like a lot of creatures do in D&D. All of the uses of that ability come back on a long rest. At level 20, you get the Noble Scion feature. And so for 10 minutes, you have a fly speed of 60 feet. Not only that, you also gain access to Minor Wish. When you're an ally in your aura of protection, so at this level would be 30 feet, fails a D20 test, you can take a reaction and make it succeed. That is a good capstone ability. Almost not as strong as I want it to be, but I think it's in line with everything else, but it's damn good. You just go, you succeed. There is no re-roll, it's not lucky, you just succeed. The things that stand out to me about this class are just the flavor around it. I've never managed it because I haven't really played much D&D as a player recently, but I've always wanted to play a Warlock Pact of the Genie, and now I want to play a Paladin Oath of the Noble Genies. Gosh, that's a mouthful, isn't it? but it just sounds like so much fun, and it really allows you to channel that I am the Avatar type scenario, I think, especially with the light armor. I feel like they knew what they were doing. We'll go down the Aladdin route, which was my original thinking. But anyway, I did think of something that, if you do manage to get to the high levels with this class, would just be absolutely bonkers. So not only obviously do you have your aura, which is crazy, buffs everybody's saving throws, they can't be frightened, and that goes all the way out to 30 feet. Not only that, when things attack you, you deal damage to them. You can increase your damage with a Feats Fury by using a Channel Divinity slot, and obviously you have your Divine Smites. At 11th level as a Paladin, all of your attacks just deal 1d8 extra radiant damage. So your damage output is going to be absolutely nuts, even not on your turn, because you can output it when you're getting hit. Not only that, at 19th level now, I believe all classes get this, you get an epic boon feat. I couldn't think of anything better, and I think this has to be taken on any Paladin that gets to this level. You have to take this. The Boon of Spell Recall. Now what this does, it increases one of your ability scores. You'd probably choose Charisma only by 1, unfortunately, but to a maximum of 30. If you get lucky enough to reach 30 Charisma. Tell me how. If you've managed to ever max out a score to 30, please tell me how you managed it in the comments. I've never been in a game got even close. I think 24 has been the highest for a single score. But I'm rambling. Boon of Spell Recall, what does it do? Well, it gives you free casting. Whenever you cast a spell with a level 1 to 4 spell slot, roll a d4. If the number you roll is the same as the slot's level, it isn't expended. This is just whenever you cast a spell. You have so many. If you just Divine Smite over and over and over again, there's a very good chance that you're going to get those spell slots back. And I feel like at that high level, you really want just the consistency. But also I feel like whenever I've played Paladins in the past, you're kind of scared to use the Divine Smites because you didn't want to run out. Now they're attached to your spell slots. It's going to be even more so like that, I think. But the Boon of Spell Recall allows you to at least try and get those slots back so you can just spam them, basically. If you have a way to manipulate dice in any way, I'm not sure Portent can do anything like that. If you have a Divination Wizard, I think it has to be a d20. But even still, if you can maybe find a way to do that, get the lucky feat, re-roll something, or a Dunamancy potion from the Critical Role universe, so you could re-roll. It could be incredibly powerful, but yeah, an excellent feat to take, I think. One last thing I wanted to mention about this class is paired with a new spell, I believe, the Circle of Power that Paladins get as a 5th level spell. Within your aura, it says an aura radiates only from a 30-foot emanation for the duration. So basically, within your aura, you can grant your allies also advantage on saving throws, not only the bonuses that they would normally get, as well as advantage against spells and other magical effects. Now, while this isn't directly linked to the Oath of Noble Genie's Paladin subclass, this is just another crazy buff to throw in there. And it just really, I feel like throwing that in, you'd have to throw it up at the start of a fight, just makes you this elemental, explosive bulwark, basically. You're maybe not as tanky as one would be, but the amount of damage you'll be putting out and the amount of buffs that you'll be providing for your party, you'll be the most valuable player, for sure. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was enlightening. I hope it inspired some characters for future games of yours. You can check out the Unearthed Arcana on D&D Beyond. It is live on there that you can't put it actually on your characters. It's only, you'd have to do it through paper or through some other website. I don't know why they got rid of that feature. Anyway, I'm rambling once again. It's been lovely chatting. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.